Hello, this is Liz Cornell, and today we're going to look at dealing with calming the agitated horse. There are so many times when we body workers and massage practitioners show up to work on a horse and he's not settled. He's distracted, he's got, anxiety. So, let's take a look at some ways that we can work with this and get the horse to connect with us and so that we can have a successful session. Now, the first thing you need to do is identify and pinpoint the source of his stress. So it could be a variety of things. These are the most common, and the owner really should be the one to help you, determine what's really going on. So obviously, pain, anticipation of more pain when you use your hands will definitely make them anxious if they're in a lot of pain. Many times they don't like to be separated from their buddy, so you have that aspect. Let's see, the safety factor. Yep, I mean, it could be you're in a hectic barn. They don't like the surroundings that they're in, so obviously you should probably move them to a different area where they're happy. Now, some of them don't trust humans, strange humans, so they're wondering, who is this person? And it takes them time to relax, to realize you're going to actually be helping them. Domination factor, I've had a couple of those. They're a very dominant thinking horse, and they want to challenge you, they want to bite you. Could be a stallion, so you do have to dominate them in some fashion. It's really a safety situation, believe it or not. I've had stallions at my barn. I've had 3 stallions that I've had to take care of over the years, and I certainly learned a lot about the domination side of dealing with stallions. Okay, so there are a lot of different techniques we're about to go over, and I just want to mention a couple things. One is that sometimes you have to try more than one technique. The first thing you try to use may not be working. So it may require a couple of different techniques to help get through to the horse that you're actually there to help them. Another thing is that your demeanor and how you're presenting yourself to the horse has a lot to do with your success in getting through. So you really need to ground yourself, breathe, exhale. You have to remain very calm. You can't get agitated. Just because the horse is agitated and you're starting to get frustrated, you certainly can't demonstrate that. So you have to feel very determined and focused that you're going to succeed and you're going to be able to work on the horse. So that's it's sort of the intent. Dr. Barbara has done videos talking about the power of intent. That actually really plays in strongly here. So it's very important, your demeanor and your presence, you are in the right frame of mind. Now, here, let's just briefly go through some of these. Obviously, if they need to be in a quieter, more familiar area, then that's fine. If you have to do it in their stall, the work on the stall, no problem. I do like to remove the food, however, because the food is a distraction and I want to see licking and chewing, not from food in their mouth, but from the work I'm doing. Now, obviously, if they're buddy sour, they need a buddy, and that should probably be done, taken care of for you, if you can request that. Now, most horses that are uptight are always tense in the neck. So sometimes if you just start the massage, maybe don't do the palpation right away, but focus on going ahead and massaging their head and neck first, both sides. Oftentimes that's enough for them to trust your hands and they start to calm down. So that has worked many times for me. It depends on the horse, obviously. I do carry a bottle of lavender essential oils with me. I've had occasions where I just put a little bit on my hands, rubbed it in my hands, and then on their nose so that they smell it. And honestly, I've had some success with it. It doesn't entirely remove their anxiousness, but it definitely drops it down a level so that you could do some of the other techniques. Now, horses that have a lot of pain, I find that if you just go in for the palpation where you're really, pushing and testing, that's just too much for them. So I usually just start if I know they're in that much pain, I definitely back off and will be very soft and I just start tapping. Usually down the top line. There's a lot on the neck. Again, the neck holds a lot of tension. So the tapping seems to work for me. It's light. I use my end of my fingers. You could also use the side of your hand, but if you just stick with it, tapping does relax a horse in general anyway. So, and whenever I get to a new part of their body that's ultra sore and they don't want me to touch them, I go to tapping. So that's what's worked for me anyways. So now the dominant and aggressive ones, that's a much harder situation, and they are definitely worried about who's in charge. I've seen stallions try to mount people. If that's the case, you may need to skip working on that horse if you're not comfortable with a stallion. But you have to establish dominance. So this is tricky. If you're not confident, the horse will definitely know it. So for the biters, which is a lot of the cases, that's the only way they can show their aggression to a human is by trying to nip and bite you. So I ask the owner first, could I please establish a little dominance by poking on their on the side of their mouth and tell them to, speak firmly to them. And usually they're all, yes, of course, So, but I always try to get permission from the owner first. And usually that does it. Usually they'll lick and chew, meaning they're submitting, and they'll settle down, and then they're fine. But it's amazing how much just establishing a dominance. I had one case where I was 45 minutes into the massage, and this horse was just couldn't stand still, always trying to bite me. I kept thinking he'd settle down, and finally I couldn't take it anymore. I mean, it was bad. And then I asked the owner permission. I gave him a good poke, told him to cut it out, and it was like all of a sudden he's like, "Oh wow, really?" And then he was perfect the rest of it. So I was kicking myself that I waited so long. If they don't settle down in 10, 15 minutes, I would say you need to do something about it. Now, this is an interesting one. When you control the feet, you control the horse. This this uh, this stems a lot from natural horsemanship techniques. So for some of them that you just can't get their attention, maybe they're buddy sour, or if they're aggressive and you don't want to be aggressive a little bit yourself, you can actually gain their attention and establish dominance by doing some in-hand work. So I have done it a few times where I've taken them off the cross ties or wherever we're working with permission from the owner, of course. And sometimes they need a stick. I ask the owner about that. And, I have them do a few little things on the ground. So backing up, turns on the forehand, walking forward, small circles, etc., until you finally see them lick and chew and they start to have some respect. That's it can work. It takes a little more time, obviously, but it does help them settle. Another thing, if you have studied the Masterson method, there's the Bladder Meridian work, and that is really without really touching the horse, but you're very close. They feel the energy from your hands, and you just start at the pole and you work your way down the top line of the horse. Very light. In other words, you barely feel the hair. on your fingers as you slowly work your hands down their body, down the top line, all the way to their tail, their rump, and down to their hock area. That definitely can get a horse to relax. If they're moving around a lot, that may be a little hard to do, but that is another method to help relax them. You can certainly Google it if you need to see some videos. Now, I've had a few cases where craniosacral therapy has helped. That definitely relaxes the horse. If you do craniosacral therapy anyways, usually the horse's heads are dropped very low and they're almost sleepy by the time I'm done a session. So that can work to just go ahead and start with that therapy first. I usually like to do the massage first when I work with horses. Then I do the craniosacral. However, there are times when the craniosacral, not only is it helping the nervous system, but it's also helping them calm down. So finally, my message would be don't give up, be persistent, be confident, be determined that you're going to connect with the horse. And that's really important. You need to connect with each horse that you work on. You need to be able to read their signals, have a communication, and 95% of the time, maybe almost 100, the horses will come around. I don't think I've ever put a horse away. I shouldn't say that. There was one instance where I was done with the horse and he never settled 100%. I would say he settled about 75%. Other than that, I think every horse has come around for me over the years. So anyways, I hope these are some helpful hints and techniques. And if you have any questions anytime, please feel free to reach out. Good luck and take care.
So if your horse is very distracted that you're working on, and you have permission from the owner to do a few in-hand things to get their attention, obviously this is one of my horses, so he's probably pretty attentive, but assuming they're a little bit antsy and moving around, and also you want to get permission to use a stick if you'd like. You might want to wear gloves. That's another safety thing. Obviously do not wrap the line around your hand. So one of the best things you can do first is a rein back, because horses don't generally step backwards on their own out in the wild. So you tap them in the shoulder a little bit. Now if you think the horse is afraid of the stick, he's not very aggressive at all with the stick. The other thing you can do a 10 on the forehand, where they have to step across. There you go. That's it, good boy. And usually I give them a pet after each one so that they're paying attention and they know. Little poke in the rib. Good boy. He's a little sensitive, so he's easier. Some of them won't be so sensitive. Good boy, good boy. Obviously walking them around, maybe a small circle like this, just to get their attention. Oh, good boy, good boy. Yeah, anything to get their attention and move their feet. Good boy. Circle this way. So those are generally the things that I do to get their attention. That's it. And ho, ho, ho. Put the whip out here in front. The ho. Good boy. Okay, so some of those kind of exercises will help get their attention onto you. Thank you.